the next edition of the Socceroos tier list, the squad tracker, who's going to be on the plane. Basically, this is where we left off. We've got 5 tiers. We've got on the plane, a good chance, on the long list, smoky, and then on the radar as well. So the rules we've been operating under is for the Socceroos squads as we went through the back end of last season. If anyone was in a squad, they automatically became on the radar, and then we'd move them up and down from there. This is the first time we're breaking that rule because today we're considering the January transfer window and moving some players up and down depending on how they've been going at their club the last few weeks and months, and also some moves that players have made, and sometimes just interviews as well for one player in particular that may spur up some discussion as well. So the whole on the plane thing, we've put players up progressively, and once they're on the plane, we can't take them off. So it's a very permanent decision. And at the end of this episode, you have to name one particularly for you, but as a group, we have to collectively move one player up there as well.
Okay.
But we also have to take one out. As you mentioned, Lewis Miller, the one exception that we have made is obviously injuries. He's done, an Achilles tendon. He's out for, a long, long time, very unfortunately. So Lewis Miller, very sad. He is coming off. And the other one that injury-wise that we have to talk about is Craig Goodwin. Yeah. So I think it was 8 to 10 weeks when he did the groin injury. It doesn't rule him out of the World Cup, but I think it rules him out of most of Adelaide United's season. Is that maybe we're keeping him just for reputation on the long list? Would he still be there even when he comes back from injury?
I think there's 2 problems here. Number one, the injury. He's not going to have an opportunity after that injury to recover properly, get minutes in the legs, and then be fit and ready for the World Cup. And number 2 is, I don't know if on form alone he has done enough this season. I'd love him to bits. Like, obviously, as an Adelaide fan, one of my favourite players of all time. And I think he can still do a job for the Socceroos, but I just think there's too many things against him at this point in time to say he should still be on the long list, right? Like, is there a chance that his injury is only, a 7-weeker, right? It was worst case scenario. We were thinking 8 to 10. It wasn't that bad. And he comes back and maybe gets a couple of games in or whatever and is able to score a couple of hat tricks and everyone goes, he's back on. Maybe, but I just think at this point in time, it's looking incredibly unlikely for him. And that seems to be a lot of the discussion that people are having about it as well, is that injury is probably, that's it for him at the World Cup and probably it for him as a Socceroo as well, to be honest.
All right. Interesting. As far as a Socceroo ever, that's wild. I think we go
it's just,
on the
it's
radar.
Just at this point, there's younger players coming through that are going to be, biting at his heels to get that opportunity. And it's just, what can he offer now? And it just looks very unlikely he'll make the team for the World Cup.
All right. Still a possibility, so we'll keep him on the radar, unlike Lewis Miller, who's definitely through. But they're the 2 injuries we have to talk about. Let's bring up Volpato. So if you haven't seen, this has come from some news reports out of Italy that Tony Popovic and Paul Ocon were in Italy to watch Christian play. I think the match they actually went to, he didn't feature. He was an unused substitute. But there was some drama around the use of the term convinced. So there was an Italian report, and the translation of that report was that Popovic and Ocon were in Italy to convince Volpato, which is obviously something that Tony Popovic, Matt, had said in the past, that selling the Socceroos shirt would be something that he hasn't done. My read on that is that the reporter probably has little understanding of that angle, that minutiae of the situation, and that convince is just probably a throw-out word that's, they're discussing, right? So we don't know whose contact started. Either way, is very normal for Socceroos coaches to go and watch players that are on the watch list play games of football. So for me, that's as much as I'm reading into it, but it's brought his name up in headlights a little bit.
The thing is, right, like, I know, talking to you, Lachie, you've done a fair bit of written journalism. I've done a fair bit of written journalism. Jacob, I'm pretty sure you have as well. You can force yourself to use a lot of language in passing, so that's one aspect of it. Like, it's just part of the job. You've got to find certain words to make what you're saying pop. 2, there's a language barrier. And 3, of course he's not familiar of the context with which Popovic was talking about players and the right and the honour of the... I mean, come on, guys. So, look, The actual act of going to Italy to talk to him is one thing, and yes, it does still spit in the face of what Popper was all about. But I think context is important, because remember, was he not talking about Luongo's kind of revival at the time, and Luongo coming back into the fold with Millwall, and like the context is just so important. And I think again, when you've got these guys like Antonio Arena and Volpato, who are so strongly involved in an elite European tier of football, I'm sorry. Yeah, Graham Arnold obviously did what he did at the 2022 World Cup, but you can't not want to ask the question again and again, especially with what's going on in Italian football across the board. So, look, I don't know, guys. I don't really think much of it. Not in the sense that I don't think there's substance to talking to them, but in the sense that talking to them is just something that is going to very naturally happen, and especially again with someone like Paul Ocon, who can really translate that culture as well. So. For me, I don't think much of it, no.
I don't think there's a massive push here, but I think it's enough to have him on the smoky list.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. There's interest there that there hasn't been from like previous management staff. Like it's a newfound. Like a lot of it was Volpato coming out through his agent saying, "I don't want to play for Australia. I'm choosing Italy," and then it just being like, "Okay, cool, whatever."
But also, if you look at the BN interview, the Football 360 and BN interview that Del Monte did. He was also like when you hear him flesh out his reasons and actually like listen to him as an adult talk about it, it makes sense, like he literally did grow up with Italy winning a World Cup. He still speaks Italian. He's experienced the food and the culture and everything. He lives there now, and it still feels like home to him in the same way that Sydney feels like home to him. It just objectively makes a lot of sense that he would be very, very fraught in wanting to stand back and kind of let the situation play out more and make sense. And I think this is a situation where that game in Cardiff, if things go wrong, yeah, maybe someone like Volpato does kind of sit back and go, do you know what, this is my time. And fair play to him. But to be able to put him up in even the status of someone like a Paddy Yazbek or any of these guys in that sort of third tier would be wrong as well, because we don't know what's going through his head. So I think Smokey's absolutely right.
Does it help that they have the easiest sell of all time, though? The sales pitch of, well, come play for Australia because we actually qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of. That's not what I'm afraid of, is in terms of like Italy not making it, and then he's like, okay, I'll play for Australia. Yeah. That's the narrative I'm a little bit scared of, but I'll let it play out, giving the benefit of the doubt for now. Okay, Volpato's on the smoky list. What I want to do now is I'm going to go down the list of major transfers I have for people on this list and a couple of extras to suggest as well. And then after that's done, we can open the floor and have some suggestions for moving players up and down. So first up, some strikers. Nick D'Agostino to the Brisbane Roar. I think it's been a very positive move for him. Where have we got him? He's already up there a little bit. Oh, he's on the radar.
No, he's on the radar.
I think he's done enough to boost himself higher than that position. He's scored 2 goals for the Roar. He's going to be playing in-season football regularly leading up to the World Cup, well, to the end of the season, So I think he's had a strong showing, and I'll package in Mitchell Duke as well from MacArthur.
The pair of them.
Come back, looks strong. And also, I want to make a new suggestion of Apostolos Stamatolopoulos. Obviously not as high as those two, but I think given he's come back to a Sydney team where he could excel, and the fact that anyone pretty much really behind Mo Toure feels very up in the air for the 9 position at the moment, I feel like if he had a really good couple of months now that he's in a team that's playing, as opposed to Motherwell where he wasn't and knocking on the door of the Socceroos when he was playing, I think it's fair enough to put him on the radar. Jacob, what do you think of those 3 striking options?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to say anything more for AP, to be honest, until we actually kind of see him contribute in a meaningful manner for Sydney, because it's a very recent transfer, so he's not had that opportunity. But the other 2, Mitch Duke and Nick D'Agostino, have looked a step above, kind of the rest of the players, both in their respective teams, but also the opposition. Like D'Agostino's back to doing what he does, and just like terrorizing A-League teams. It's every time you see him on the starting lineup, you just think, oh, he's gonna get a goal here. He's gonna end up on the score sheet or do something crazy. And Mitch Duke has been super consistent for MacArthur so far. So I think for the pair of them, it's absolutely. I'd be moving Mitch Duke up to good chance, and Daggers, I don't know how far you'd move him up. Would you move him to the long list, Lachie? I'd definitely have him in Smokey, but I don't know if the long list is maybe just a bit too much of a jump, where you're looking at the other players in that kind of thing. Is he quite at that? Is he at that point of being in contention to compete with guys like Kai Rowles? Like,
what do you think?
Yeah, no, very strong thoughts. I'm thinking match day 3 in San Francisco. You are going to want to impose on a team like Paraguay with a very strong figure like a Mitch Duke. You like the similarities with the Tunisia game, with which he succeeded in 2022, become fairly apparent. Paraguay are a very defensive team, and I think where D'Agostino's physical assets really spring out, especially with a bit more, first team football with Brisbane Roar under his belt. I think he essentially just forms as a like for like, but is a younger version of Mitch Duke essentially, and I think he could really force a lot of problems for a Paraguayan backline. So I feel like I actually do want to pop him up quite high. I think he's someone that I've always really rated throughout his career, just in terms of those attacking players, I think it's a really good jump. Sorry, I'm talking about D'Agostino.
Yeah.
Sorry, D'Agostino.
Yeah. Yes.
Surely you'd also be moving Duke up though, Matt. Surely you're pushing Duke up with how he's performed for MacArthur coming back to the league.
I'm even of the mindset that D'Agostino can be the Duke-like figure, is what I'm saying.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't think I still think Popper would go with Duke over Daggers at this point.
The moment, but don't forget, even the game that Duke scored against Saudi Arabia, he wasn't supposed to be in that squad.
Yeah,
he was a
true.
late injury replacement.
Yeah.
So there's so many elements there. I think he's only been there for a couple of games as well. We're going to have another episode after the March window, of course. So obviously we can still move these guys around. So I think we're happy leaving those two on the long list for now. But the other striker who's definitely making waves at the moment, Mohamed Touré, his move to Norwich in the Championship, scored 5 goals in his first 3
I'm sorry,
games.
Lachie, I'm just going to interrupt you. He's got to be on the plane. He has to be on the plane. He is the Socceroos' best number 9. And there is no question. The thing was, can he do it? At a consistent level in clubland? Yes, he can, because he just moved to the Championship and he's making it look easy.
This dispels the one thing foreigners have been saying about us for 10 plus years now is I understand Australia's physicality, I understand their quality, I respect their quality. Where the hell do the goals come from? And that's it. He's we were actually kind of showing it somewhere in clubland. So Jacob's completely spot on.
All right, I think Mo Toure is our episode pick. Going on the plane. Sure. Congratulations, Touré. You're on the plane. You're going on the World Cup.
He's been pretty close the last couple of episodes as well, but I don't think anyone's quite pulled the trigger on him. But I think with that move to Norwich and how well he's been playing, even when he's not scoring, he's getting assists and he's creating chances and he's hitting the post twice in the same game and stuff. He is on fire at the moment. So
I reckon the last window we were really close between him and Aidan O'Neill in terms of who was going, and his club form absolutely just tips him over. All right. A goalkeeper that I want to talk about very briefly, Tom Glover. I think the race for the Socceroos' third goalkeeper is really up in the air, and we can talk about Patrick Beach in the same moment as well. I think Beach has actually slipped down in terms of form in the A-League in the last couple of months, and Tom Glover, the big issue with him was that he just wasn't playing football, right? He was a pretty clear number 3, but he wasn't playing football. He's made the transfer over to Japan. Of course, this is the 100-year Vision League little in-between tournament between their, leagues starting back in the different calendar slot. But he's playing for RB Amiga. He's played 3 games so far, 3 wins with a clean sheet. I think it's worth just kind of bumping him up to the long list. I don't know if he classifies as a smoky, not really the right profile, but I think Beach and Glover both kind of come together in this long list area is my pitch.
Yeah, Beach has definitely come down a step. I'm happy with that. I think that's pretty spot on.
All right, Matt, some defenders as well. Miloš Degenek, who we've got up in the good chance category. He's made the move over to Cyprus with Apoel. We've got Jason Geria, who's re-signed with Nagata in the Japanese kind of 100-year vision mini league thing in the long list. And then we've got Kai Truin as well. It depends whether you want to put him in defender or midfielder, but we've got him as a smoky as well. The move to New York City, he started the first game of the MLS season. And I understand you want to make a new suggestion to the list as well.
Yeah, someone else that started in the MLS, Lucas Harrington at the Colorado Rapids. Only 18 years of age, but someone whose senior career clearly puts him into the Baltic category. Very much firmly on the radar. No, smoky.
Okay.
Firmly smoky, like a barbecue. Okay. Look, to recap as a whole, though, I think Degenek's form in a place like Cyprus, his whole career, he's been in the fold of being a really solid international player. But he's ended up in some really bizarre scenarios in his club career. It's like, Miloš Degenek was starting in the Champions League for Red Star Belgrade today. Fancy that, And so I think a place like Cyprus actually really kind of fits him. I think his career is just going to find him where he's able to get game time and get consistent game time, even if the level isn't as high. I think environments like that can still be really punishing and teach him a lot. And also, he doesn't really need it as much, being the veteran presence that he is. Do I want to put him on the plane yet? Maybe not. But listen, he's gonna be in the squad. You can just sort of bet on it. So I don't know. It's one of those ones.
We gotta play the
game. Yeah, we gotta play. Yeah, all right. We gotta have the conversation, I guess. Gary is also one where I think Japanese-based players, and especially in this climate with the league changeover, they do tend to be invisible to us a lot of the time. And I think that whilst we can really bank on his long-standing relationship with Tony Popovic and the fact that he's been really, really solid in big games where it's mattered, the one pushback I'd say on that is we've seen him step up really well in the Asian environment. And I can tell you right now, playing the USA on home soil, playing the likes of a Paraguay, and let alone who that UEFA team can be, a Slovakia or a Turkey, they're going to punish us a lot. Completely different environment for Jason Geria to step up to, so I don't want to put a ton of confidence in him. Kai Truin, I kind of want to look at the situation and say, yes, that you've made the step up, but are you even more out of your depth? And so, again, there's going to be a fearlessness in Harrington where Truin's been through all of the youth setups, and I think he's been there, done that, but he would still strike me as the kind of player that wouldn't be able to push up to that level. I think you'd almost get a bit more confidence in Harrington because there's just a lot of that fearlessness where he's going to go out and play at his level. He's already made the jump, like it's nothing. In Colorado, of all places, that'll feel very familiar to that Western Hemisphere environment. And I know, Truin's also in the MLS as well. But the individual quality with Harrington right now, the individual confidence, I think, maybe even puts him ahead. So, but I think Degenek is really just the big name right now. How can he not be? Just on the resume alone.
Yeah, I think Degenek would be very unlucky to even miss starting 11, to be honest. The only thing I can think of is Harry Sutar coming back fit and absolutely killing it in the couple of months in the lead up. He's still having a lot of trouble with injury, hasn't featured in the Socceroos squad in a long time, which is why you don't see his face on the list. We'll wait until he returns and plays some games until we talk about him. But Degenek is going to be there. We're playing the game. We can only do one per episode, so he's still hanging on that kind of good chance slot.
Matt has the opportunity to, give him his passport.
Matt has the opportunity. You can bring that up whenever, by the way, if we talk about the particular person you want. But Degenek is good. I think Geria stays in his place. I have really high raps on Truin. The thing I would say in the context of the Socceroos is I think his long-term future is better as a 6, but he faces way more competition as a 6 compared to playing in a back 3 for the Socceroos. So I think it's reasonable to leave him in the smoky category for now.
That's the problem with Truin, right? Is it's a blessing and a curse that he has that versatility. But then it's, he's being used in different roles everywhere he goes. Was kind of a little bit critical at times of the way Vidmar used him at City. I didn't think that it necessarily suited the skill set that he has and the, kind of the makeup of the rest of City's squad and things like that. So it's kind of, he's a victim of his own quality in a way, because he's able to play in a few different positions very capably. So of course he's plug and played all over the shop. You know, he can play kind of on that right hand side of defense as well in a back three and things like that. So it's just, yeah, it's really difficult for him, and that's kind of, yeah, maybe actually hurting him a little bit, because it's, well, actually, which position is he going to be picked in? And you know, it's difficult to say, oh yeah, he should be on the plane just because he can play a few different positions. You know, it's, the versatility is nice to have, but at this point, I think it's far from a guarantee that that means that he's going to be there, you know?
Two other Melbourne City transfers I want to talk about. Daniel Arzani, who we've currently got in the smoky category, and a new entry to the list, who I think, especially because of the direct comparison to Arzani, that you can make a very good case for, is Marcus Younis, transferred in on loan. I think you look at these two players head to head, Younis has clearly made the bit better impact on this Melbourne City team since coming in on loan. Arzani had a pretty average Melbourne derby, and the North Terrace let him know about it as well. So I think, especially on the smoker category, I think Marcus Younis has to slot in. And it might be harsh, maybe he gets to stay where he is, but I'd also even consider downgrading Arzani.
Look, Arzani, we were saying, you know, to really help his chances, he needs to get that move in January. He needs to probably come back to the A-League, right? It's the most likely thing for him to be doing in January. And he's done that, but yeah, wasn't a great performance in the Melbourne derby. It's to City. Is he going to have that impact? It kind of feels like this is hurting him a little bit. And then Younis is on that upwards trajectory where I think at the moment they're kind of lockstep with each other in terms of who you'd pick. I think, you know, obviously there's that Popovic being familiar with Arzani, clearly really liking him. Arzani having, you know, been included in Socceroos squads in the past for a while now, and having his opportunity to play for the national side at a senior level, like that's maybe he's built up a little bit of credit in the bank. But I do definitely think that Younis, you know, should be at the same level of wherever Arzani is or above him, right? If we're moving Arzani down, keep Younis and Smokey, obviously don't move him down. But I don't think we could say, you know, that Younis is on the radar and Arzani is Smokey. I think they're pretty tightly even, if not Younis ahead at this point in time. So is it, again, it comes down to how we're kind of interpreting all this. And, you know, is at this stage, is Arzani just on the radar versus does he have that opportunity to come back to Smokey?
He probably still has those attributes of a Smokey, doesn't he? Maybe we can put him there.
Yeah.
He's that kind of player that we saw it for Victory, right? You have a good month. And because Popovic knows him and
let's
trusts
give him more
his
than a couple
potential.
of weeks, right? To actually do something for City.
All right, let's leave him on the smoking category. Matt, your final news submission for this little episode here.
Yeah, well, just in the conversation around Touré scoring in the championship, we did have an Australian start once or twice for their championship club and come off the bench and score most recently, and that was Daniel Bennie. So, look, I have a long affinity with Daniel personally, having interviewed him before he made the transfer, and you know, his one season with Perth Glory was phenomenal. So hard for me to not just say that this is like 250% vibes. Just put him on the radar, to be honest. Like I don't want to sit there and really pump up his tires, but it's just worth noting. Like that's a very, very high caliber of football where he's broken through the academy seamlessly, made a starting debut, started a couple times. You know, and there's high quality Moroccans around in that team. You know, there's a really, really high caliber of player that he's really come in and made that push for, you know. And funnily enough, you know, he has a personal working relationship with Christian Pulisic, which is like he would be able to come into camp and give some good intel on the US team as well. So
he's just a spy. He's there as a spy. That's what it is.
Literally, I think they have some sort of agent connection. He had Christmas lunch with him like a few years back, and he's just like, what the hell is Daniel Bennie doing? Well, whatever. You get the point. So, I like it more and more. But I am obviously one of his biggest fans. So, I don't know. I don't know what you guys think. Does the name resonate for you guys at all?
Look, I think he's definitely
a player of potential.
Yeah, he's on the radar. Like you said, if we're talking about Mo Toure scoring in the championship being a big thing, the fact that Daniel Bennie's doing it as well is an equally big thing. I think the thing that Touré has that Bennie doesn't, obviously, is the support from Popovic, the experience being being that starting 9 for the Socceroos, whereas Bennie obviously kind of doesn't have that advantage of having much of a history with this team. So that's where it kind of hurts him. And I think, on the radar is fine, because he's definitely one to keep an eye on for.
All right. Do we want to, any of these players that we haven't talked about, do we want a readjust? For me, there is one standout. And it's honestly not even a whole lot to do with him. Jacob Italiano, who's been injured for a little while, is just coming back to fitness. But Lewis Miller coming out of consideration, I think instantly improves Italiano's chances of getting picked at that right wing back slot.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing nodding heads. So I think we're in agreement there.
Well,
He's
who else
my
is
one.
gonna be
It's such a
right?
problem position. It's such a problem position, and it has consistently been so for years. Like, there's not really much we can do.
All right. Lewis Miller, any suggestions off the cuff for some other changes before we get to Matt's on the plane pick to round out this episode?
Obviously, we can't move him up, and I wouldn't want to, but I will say Riley McGree has been doing very, very well for Middlesbrough.
Yep.
So he's one that, perhaps come the end of this March window, we are looking at moving up to on the plane, because
he's
his form
definitely
has
the
been
one
spectacular.
face. He's definitely the one face for me in that good chance row that is, oh, you shouldn't be there anymore.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be there. All right. Matt, I think it's that time. What's your decision?
Have I got to promote someone to on the plane? Like, is that it? And it's just anyone
You've
who's
gotta
Are you going to make
you
another
gotta-
appearance in one of these videos is the question. Are you going to save it for the end of the March window?
Metcalf? Well, I don't know. Like, has he been starting for St. Pally?
No, he hasn't. To be fair, you weren't around when we decided the stakes for this competition.
We have put him in a tough spot here. Let's be honest.
We have. Yeah, so the whole idea is that we put our personal stamp of approval on one player, and if you get it wrong, I don't know what the official language was, but it was something like you have to.
We're going to get punished.
It was
worst
the
ball knowledge.
least knowledgeable person at Roundball Australia on your Twitter bio or whatever.
Yeah,
Oh,
your Twitter
oh,
bio.
Okay. I'm sorry. This is way too high stakes, and there's no options. You can't make me do it. There's no options.
We've taken away all the good. Surely
We
Ryan
have.
McGree. No, he's been killing it. Or you can you can come back
And it
after
does,
the
and
March
that's
window.
the thing is, this injury rule as well applies to your personal pick. If your personal pick gets injured, then that's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. That doesn't. And I think that's the thing that's holding McGree back.
So I think Connor Metcalf, obviously regular. We've got Cam Burgess in there as well, who's been a regular starter. Martin Boyle, Vibes manager, Ryan McGree, obviously killing it. You could go your Duke angle. Patrick Yazbek has been a favoured deputy in that kind of sixth position as well.
I'll just rep my WA boy, and I'll say it because I do think that positionally things will go right from here. I'll say Burgess.
All right, Cam Burgess on the plane. I think that is a safe pick, to be fair. I think he's in Australia's best 3 starting centre-backs. All right, very good. Personal stamp of approval on for Matt. We've been here for almost an hour and a half now.
When I said WA, did you think I was about to say Daniel Bennie?
I thought you were going to say
Honestly, it went through my
Harrington.
head.
Oh yeah,
I
okay.
There you go.
And then I was
Is
like, wait,
Harrington
no,
not a
Harrington's
Queenslander?
Yeah,
He is,
Well, that's
he
why
is,
I was
yeah.
like, oh wait, no, it's not going to be him because it's
Okay.